All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Pitching Like a Pro. We have an awesome lineup of experts today to tell you more about what it's like pitching, how to prepare a pitch, and in what circumstances you can use your pitch for, because it is very broad. Pitching is a critical skill to moving your business forward, and you're going to learn the ins and outs of it today. I'm Catherine Zobri. I'm a general business advisor with the Alabama Small Business Development Center. I'll be moderating the chat today, so if you have questions for the speakers or about anything related to pitching your business, please drop it in the chat. And at the end, we're going to have time to actually practice your pitch. So while you are thinking and listening to these presenters, please start thinking about how you could design your 30-second pitch, and at the end, you'll have an opportunity to practice that in front of the experts. Many of us have been judges on pitch competitions before, so you're really getting the insights from both the advisor side of things as well as if you were thinking about joining a pitch competition. So at this point, I'd like to, before we move on, some housekeeping. Right now, everybody is muted and your video is off. As we get into the pitch practice portion, I'll ask for volunteers through the chat. If you would like to volunteer to practice your pitch, just let me know and you can unmute and start your video to run your pitch. Additionally, this is being recorded and the slides will be available in an email after today's presentation. So if you miss something, if it feels a little bit like drinking out of a fire hose, don't worry, it will all be available shortly after today's presentation. So with that, I would like to introduce our two speakers today, and they will introduce our guest speakers later on. First, Alicia Levels-Moore is the founder of ALS Creative Strategies, an event program and project management company. She focuses on Black-owned businesses, and she's a champion for great ideas and people who dream them. She is the epitome of an entrepreneur for me. She does excellent work really to elevate and to bring and to highlight the Black business owner communities. Victor Brown, if you don't know him already, you will shortly. He is a staple of the Birmingham business community. This man, I think, just creates culture wherever he walks. He is the Vice President of Business Development for the Birmingham Business Alliance. There are a few people who know more people than Victor Brown. He is an exceptional person. He works to impact business growth among major employers in the 7-county region around Birmingham, and in partnership with economic development agencies. Victor's work centers around intentional approach to identify companies in traditional and emerging and underrepresented industry sectors that are currently experiencing job growth and making capital investments. So with that, I will turn it over to our fantastic speakers today and let them tell you all about how to pitch like a pro. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Well, good afternoon. We're so glad you are here. Just say hey to the people.
Hello.
Awesome,
good to see everyone.
So, yeah, we're going to get started. Victor's going to kick us off. And as he kicks us off, we'll have some guests that will jump in. So I'm going to let you take it away, Victor, and give us all the gems that you have to drop. And I'm going to take my pencil and my pen out too, my paper, so I can take notes as you speak.
Thank you so much. Before we get into the PowerPoint presentation, just wanted to introduce you all to our first special guest, who is Jennifer Senske-Ryan. Jennifer is going to chime in on some portions of the initial presentation that I'm going to open us up with before we turn it over to Alicia. So Jennifer joins us here in Birmingham as the founder of a company called Blue Root. But before that, she was someone that was an expert in the area of financial services and just high level investment related type ventures. So I'm so excited to talk more about her as we jump into the presentation. So we can go on to the next slide and dig right in. So pitching like a pro, we are really excited to talk a little bit about the elevator pitch, the 3-minute pitch, the 10-minute pitch, and the professional pitch presentation. Next slide, please. With the elevator pitch, so generally, you've heard the term, you need to have an elevator pitch, you need to be able to express yourself in 30 seconds or less the time it might take to start at the bottom floor of a building and ride that elevator up. I think in some cases there are competitions in the country where they actually do that, like Y Combinator and others, where you actually do that. In my mind, that pitch needs to be compelling. You need to get to the point and you need to pace yourself. And I think you'll find elements of these 4 items are also imperative as you look at the other categories that we're going to look at together with Jennifer Senske Ryan. Next slide, please. So the 3-minute pitch is where, and what I said in this one is start with why. That's Simon Sinek. Basically, why is your idea so important? You know, the problem that you're solving, the why, the passion. Now, this is where you can kind of get into a little bit of trouble. And I think Jennifer can relate to that. So I don't know if you've seen the letters WID before, but why I do what I do. And oftentimes, and I'd love Jennifer to chime in before we go to the other points on this, the why I do what I do can really engage a lot of passion, and it also can cause the presenter to get so focused on the emotion and the passion and the knowledge and the research that they end up going overtime. Jennifer, do you know anything about that?
Oh, Victor, you and I have experienced that together with you coaching me through how to tighten up the storyline. Not more than a year ago, actually 9 months or so ago, I pitched at the Big Pitch here in Birmingham, and it was a really incredible experience, but I had a hard time bringing the entire narrative into a 6.5-minute presentation. And I can tell you, of all of the things that I've learned when it comes to pitching, less is more is truly a very important notion to live by. I think attention spans are at an all-time low right now. Everyone is dealing with information overload. But more importantly, you want to use fewer words that are really impactful to make that storyline stick. So it took us a number of iterations. Victor, folks at Innovation Depot, folks at Rev Birmingham, folks at Create Birmingham, Catherine Zobre, to really help me whittle that down. But once we knocked away some of the extra, some of the superfluous, the story was so much tighter, and it really did resonate with the audience. So lesson learned, I can tell you, it's important to really whittle down and get to the basics on what you're trying to do.
Great, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more before we turn it over to Alicia. So again, making it compelling. Words, you know, words are something that's important, and I think preparation, advanced preparation, will help you. And the 3 special guests that we have today, the 2 of which Alicia will introduce, really have done a good job of making their presentations compelling. Make salient points, make important points about what you want to convey to your audience. And then show your uniqueness. There's something unique about you, and this is you as a person. Oftentimes I've heard judges in pitch competitions say, we don't invest in companies, we invest in people. And pace yourself once again. Next slide. The 10-minute pitch, and I can't wait for Jennifer to share some of our experience here. So again, avoid too much passion, which you've heard us talk about. Expand on that 3-minute pitch. So think about how tight you had it when you did the 3-minute pitch, and then expound on that. Explain the ask and know the numbers. I have seen presenters present for 10 minutes and they run out of time. They never asked for anything. They never told the judges or the investors how much money they needed. So that's very important. What I said to Jennifer, and I can't wait for her to chime in on this and what she thought about it. So she had to do a 10-minute pitch for the Big Pitch. And after she went 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes in some cases, I finally told her, listen, Jennifer, create a 5-minute pitch and pace yourself to 10 minutes. So Jennifer, I'd love for you to comment about, I think I saw a deer in the headlights when I told her after she went about 15 or 20 minutes that I needed her to pare it down to 5 minutes.
We had so much to say, and I will tell you, it was the hardest job ever to cull it back from 25, 30 minutes to 5 minutes. but it was the most important work that we did. And it wasn't chiseling it back 5 minutes here or there. We took and sort of everything again that was superfluous and stripped it away to the bare bones, and that's where we started. So we got to the 1 and 3 minute version first, and then we expanded to the 5 and then to the 10. And taking the time and the care to get to the bones, to get to the infrastructure that mattered, to get to the points that really needed to resonate with the judges and the audience, took a long time, because it really, again, forced me to do a lot of the work as to answering the question of why, and really, really honing in on the ask of the judges. So for us, that most important step that we took the longest up front, and I can tell you Rebecca, who's on here too, helped me a lot with this, but pulling back to get the bare bones first and then adding on to it was really the most helpful exercise that we did to get the story out there and to make sure it was clear and it resonated.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. So the final one that I'm going to talk about before we introduce you to our next guest is the professional pitch presentation. This is the one where you really are in front of possibly investors, in front of a bank. You're trying to hire an employee. This is something important to keep in mind, is that you're not just pitching for money. You're not just pitching for to get a bank loan, but you want to perfect these items. And as you get to the 30-minute pitch or more, it could be an hour or two, that you're in front of a group of people or a person where you're trying to accomplish something. There's heavier engagement. There's more dialogue. So there's conversation. You've got more at stake. Maybe it's a large investment, a loan, a major contract. You've got to, a lot of your best employees are going to interview the company. So oftentimes employees don't know that while they may be wishing that they could get a job, the employer has to sell the company. You've got to pitch what are the benefits and the value of coming to work for your company. Or maybe you want to get a key vendor or supply chain provider. Again, a lot of times people feel like, oh, I've got something to sell, I want to get a contract. But you may need to hire and do business with a company that you're going to pay money to, and you need for them to hear your pitch over the course of the half hour. So I want to thank Jennifer Ryan for helping us with this, and I hope this is helpful you as we go through the rest of the presentation. So on our next slide, we have yes, please.
I was just going to say the other thing that you very much taught me, and I think it's important to share, is the fact that we're talking about very specific experiences right now where most likely you're going to be in an office or on a stage or in some sort of prescribed environment. I think the most important thing to take away from this is that regardless of to whom you're speaking, when you own a business, you're always pitching. You are pitching when you're talking to your employees to compel them to join you on the journey. You're pitching your product when you're talking to the customer when they're about to buy something. You're pitching when you're talking to investors or potential partners. You're always telling the story. And so really understanding those different groups, spending the time to really tighten up the narrative and make sure you can pivot among them, I think was critical. Number two, less is more. I don't need to spend more on that. And then the last piece is we took a lot of time to practice, but practice does make perfect, even for those informal conversations. People walk away very impacted after they talk to an owner or founder of a business. So spend the time to really tighten up the narrative. So thank you, Victor, for your lessons, and thanks to the other folks on the line, because our storyline keeps getting tighter thanks to all the work you spent with us.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jennifer. So I'd like to present our next special guest and then turn it over to Alicia. So the next slide, please. Our special guests today are Dr. Dale Smith. He is the co-founder and CEO of Acclinate Genetics. He's also the former head of the business school at Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama. And we are so excited to have Dr. Smith here with us. We've had the opportunity to get to know each other over the past year, working together to help support his company in many ways, which hopefully you'll hear about a little bit of that as he shares some best practices with you. Also want to introduce you to Emily Hart. Emily has been someone that I've worked closely with. We were fortunate to steal her from Silicon Valley over to Birmingham, Alabama. She is the head of marketing for Motion Mobs. Emily and I have done many seminars like this and others, but also I'm excited that after she shares her information, you'll get to hear her experience as it relates to the work that she's done in pitch competitions. So we'll turn it over to our next presenter.
Hello.
Alicia?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. So I am so excited. And so Jennifer really helped to segue really what I wanted to start with. And the key that I really want to drive, there's a few things, but one of the things I really want to drive home is that pitching is not just for a competition. Every time you open your mouth to talk about your business, that is pitching. So how you consistently show up, that is a pitch, right? So to Jennifer's point, if you're talking to Aunt Betty, if you're standing in the line at Walmart and someone asks you that dreaded question, what do you do? This is the perfect time for you to pitch your business. So pitching is not just a competition. It's every time that you open your mouth to talk about your business. And so a few things that I've been able to see that really impact people a lot in terms of pitching is really managing a lot of those limiting beliefs. I don't know about you all, but I've seen some people, they share things and it's the level of confidence they share it with, it engages me. And so really, I want to kind of drill down into the importance of confidence and to the importance of managing those limiting beliefs, jumping over fear, and all of those different things that stop us from sharing or pitching our business. So I would like to quote one of my favorite authors, okay? He says, "Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you." Who know who that is? That's Dr. Seuss, okay? It's real simple. You are you. No one else has the experience that you have had. No one else has lived the life that you have lived. No one can tell your story quite like you. And so a lot of times I think that we have a tendency to get a little in the weeds when we have to realize that no one knows our story. No one knows why we went into business. So no one can tell you that you're wrong when you're sharing your story, but you have to do it in such a way that you take them on the journey to how you got to where you are. And so one of the ways to do that is repetition. Spend some time practicing your business story. Do it so much to where you can regurgitate that thing over and over and over again, no matter who you're talking to, right? So there's about 4 little tips that we can give, right? So it's, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? And how do you plan to do it? So what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? And how do you plan to get it done? And those are 4 simple whys to how you can be able to craft that story pretty easily. So another thing I really want to touch on is the importance of individuality and uniqueness, right? Individuality and uniqueness, that is what is winning in commerce today. So don't neglect the uniqueness of your story. Don't shy away from it. So one thing that I heard from someone, her name is Shelly Bell. She's the founder of Black Girl Ventures. She says, being unique does not mean you have to be the only one. So sometimes when we hear unique, we think, okay, my business has to do something that no one else has done in the world. But the reality is there is nothing new under the sun. But your business can still be unique. You know why? Because you are the one doing it. So the unique value proposition is the fact that you tell us why you are the one to solve this problem. That's what's unique about it. And so we don't want to be general in order to be palatable, right? We want to be specific and stand in the truth of your vision. I've heard a lot of people try to be very general in their business story in hopes that, okay, maybe this will grab this person's attention, or maybe this will grab their attention. But let me tell you what I've learned. Be specific. Being specific about your business story, being specific about your target, about your audience, it really does help people to come along for the journey, because it helps to clear up why you are doing it and why you are the one to solve the problem. And so that's something that I really had to navigate myself, even with my own business, right? So I had to really tighten up, why am I doing what I'm doing? And so to Victor's point earlier, you want to be passionate, but you want to make sure your passion does not overshadow what it is that you're doing. It doesn't overshadow the facts, the data, the things that people really need to know in terms of your business. So let me ask you this. Have you ever talked to someone and you have been the one asking the question, what do you do? And they tell you, and you're still like, I'm sorry, what do you do? You still don't understand, right? And so sometimes we just get all over the place, but make it simple. So for myself, my name is Alicia Levels Moore. I'm the founder of ASL Creative Strategies. It is an event program and project management firm that creates spaces, education, and partnerships. Why do I do this? Because I want to eliminate the racial wealth gap. How do I do this? I help support the creation and scale of Black-owned businesses, right? So why, what, how, who you're doing it for. Keep it simple so that when you walk away, whether you're in that line, whether you're talking to Aunt Betty, I don't know why I keep saying Aunt Betty, who got Aunt Betty out there? Whether you're talking to somebody at Christmas dinner or wherever, right? They understand what you're saying. And so really, I would like to admonish you to practice your business story wherever you are, right? Practice it out at the store, practice it out at the park, practice it out on your neighbors, practice it out, because as you continue to practice it, it helps you to refine that story. And then because you're practicing, right? It's no pressure. You can ask people after you finish talking, did you understand what I said? Does it make sense to you, what it is that I do, right? And so we have some great opportunities, not just when you're standing in front of someone asking them for money, but being able to practice just in the everyday life. Because by the time you get to that stage, when you're asking for money, you want to make sure that it's super, super tight. But you can practice with those around you in your community, in your neighborhood. So just as I'm wrapping it up, there are two other things I really want to just drive home that can affect us from sharing our story. So there's some things that people deal with, right? And we have rejection on one hand, and we have fear on another hand. Those are two things I've seen that stop people from sharing their story, not just on the pitch stage, but just in general. So one of the things I really want to drive home, right, is the more honest we are with ourselves about why we don't share our business or what's kind of holding us up with sharing our business, the more honest we are, the better and easier and quicker we can get to removing the barriers so we can have a solid and confident pitch. So I've heard some people say, well, you know what, listen, I am afraid of public speaking. But I want you to think about what you're saying. You're not saying I'm afraid of public speaking. What you're really saying is I'm afraid of failure, right? And that's okay. The more honest we are with ourselves, the easier we can begin to more confidently share our business story. So it's really not that we're afraid of public speaking. We like emotional comfort. We don't want anybody to reject our idea, right? And we need to go ahead and get on over that thing so that we can more confidently share our business. So be honest with yourself. So ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Why do I not talk about my business with other people? Why haven't I entered into a pitch competition? Really start to ask yourself those questions so you can begin to work backwards on why you are not sharing your business. But here's a little food for thought I want you all to think about. What is the world missing out on by you not pitching and sharing your business? But also in addition to that, what opportunities are you missing out on by not sharing, pitching, and speaking about your business? Because the reality is, if people don't know what you do, why you do it, they don't know what resources to connect you to, they can't point you to the right person, they can't introduce you to their network because they don't know what you do. So by you not pitching, not sharing, not being confident in that thing, it really can eliminate you from being able to be introduced to certain opportunities. So I just kind of want you all to think about that. And lastly, we have to get over fear. When someone's standing in front of me and they're sharing their idea, I can tell whether or not they believe in that idea. I can tell whether or not there's a little fear surrounding them sharing that information. So what fear does is it causes us to think small and to act small. And there is nothing that someone wants more than a confident person who's confident in their ideas, who's confident in their business, to stand in front of them. Now, that's the type of person that can ask me for something, and I might be a little more willing to give it to them because I know that they believe in what they're talking about. But I can always sense those who are kind of dealing with some fear. And it's not to say that we won't be a little nervous, right? But we don't want to be in fear. Fear causes us to think and to act small. And then it ultimately affects how we confidently share our business, right? So just tell people why you are the one to solve the problem and why you know it more intimately than others. And really what I want to wrap up on the very last point is fear rules us only if we let it, okay? So we need to get out there. We have to share it because the reality is what you have, your business, your idea, your organization, we need it, right? The ecosystem needs it. The city needs it. The world needs what you have, but you have to get out there. You have to not only think about pitching in terms of standing on a stage, but you are pitching every single time you open your mouth to talk about your business. So listen, fear wins or freedom wins. That is the end. So we want to make sure that freedom wins, that we can confidently share our business in the most concise way, the most compelling way, and we can tell people why we are the ones to solve the problem. So I just want to leave you all with that. I am excited about all of you who are here on the Zoom with us, and I hope that something has been said so far that is sparking you, that is getting you ignited and getting you excited. And so now we have Miss Emily. She is going to join us. And Victor, I'm going to let you intro Emily because I know you have all the beautiful, wonderful things to say about Emily. So you're going to intro her, and Emily is going to jump on in and share with us some different experiences and best practice that she has in terms of pitching.
Thank you so much, Alicia. So I have to tell you the challenges that I've had with just trying to figure out as the millennial generation was coming up in the Birmingham community, and how to, how do we share information that can reach them? How do we also balance that with the executives? And Emily's just been a great, really mentor to me in terms of helping to understand how to market. How do you attract an audience to webinars, to participate in pitch competitions? Because surprisingly, as it may sound, oftentimes companies don't want to participate. So I'm not going to delay further, turning this over to my dear friend and a great friend to the small business community in Birmingham, Emily Hart, Head of Marketing for Motion Mobs.
Thank you, Victor. You are too kind. You are a fantastic role model and leader in our community. And I just consider myself blessed to know you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Hart. I work with Motion Mobs. We develop custom software to generate revenue and impact. We work with everything from small businesses to nonprofits to large corporations. But over the past many years, I have had the unique opportunity to now pitch 2 different products for Motion Mobs. And I've also had the opportunity to mentor a whole bunch of entrepreneurs who have come through our doors seeking technical advice really as to how to build the business side of a app-based business. And so on the personal side first, so 5 years ago was my first opportunity to pitch on stage a app. Motion Mobs was building a really fast wireframing app that we wanted just as a tool for us. And so we pitched it at Alabama Launchpad back in 2015. So it's been many, many years. And I had the opportunity to really refine, well, what are we pitching? What's the business model behind it? We had this idea for kind of how it technically benefited our team, but the idea of now we have to create a go-to-market strategy for it. And how are we going to convince other people that this is valuable, that they want it, and that it's useful for them as well? I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had through that entire Launchpad experience, it wasn't the money that we won at the end of it. It was actually the feedback and the questions that I got from every single person who listened to those pitches, whether they were practices or the actual competition itself. And so the big thing that I would just recommend that all of you do is pitch to as many people as you can. Nobody that you talk to is going to have the same life experience, the same expectations that they bring to the table, and they're going to listen to your pitch with a very unique perspective. And so the comments that you get from them and the questions that they ask are always going to be a little bit unique based on how they see the world. And so the more people that you get to pitch to and the more people you hear feedback from, the better prepared you are to adjust your pitch based on who your audience is at the moment. And to bring that full circle, so last week I had the opportunity to pitch at Reignite, Alabama, when Motion Mobs was pitching exposure notification technology, which, side note, if you all have not downloaded the GuideSafe exposure notification app, go download it, protect yourself from COVID. So I pitched exposure notification technology. to a panel of judges. And one of the things that was most fascinating throughout that experience was that I actually watched two judges disagree with each other. And I just silently sat there and listened to them kind of work it out. And it comes down to that everybody is going to have a different perspective. And so just because somebody gives you feedback from a pitch or asks you a question and you go, well, gosh, that was just off the wall. I don't know what they were doing. They were clearly not listening, or they totally missed the point. It's still valid feedback to listen to, because there's something about what you said that caused them to hear it in a particular way. And so every piece of feedback you get is worth listening to, even if you don't actually implement that change into your own pitch. Your audience is so valuable in learning how to refine how you talk about what makes you unique, what you bring to the table, and at the end of the day, what makes you worthwhile of an investment. The other comment that I would make is to relate to the emotional side of your business as well. Don't be so stuck on, well, this is a pitch presentation, I need numbers, I need facts. Your audience wants to hear your heart. And that's really what causes somebody to stick around and ask the follow-up questions afterwards, is because something resonated with them and they said, I want to know more. Can we talk more in detail about this? Because nobody's ever going to learn everything that there is about your business in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes. And so the whole point of your pitch is to create that moment of wonder in your audience where they say, I want to follow up. Can we talk more? I'd like to learn more about you and what you're doing. So that I'll keep things nice and short. Victor, if there's anything else you'd like to add specifically, I would be happy to, but that's just a little taste of kind of what I have experienced in pitching and the value of the audience.
Oops, I'm talking I'm on mute. So I hope you'll stick around for a little bit. And as we get into, and I hope everybody is getting ready for their 30-second elevator pitches. But certainly, thank you so much, Emily. I'm going to move on to Dr. Dale Smith now. I think he just put his information from LinkedIn in the chat. Please check that out. I am humbled and honored to have had the opportunity to get to know Dr. Smith over the past year and get to know about Acclinate Genetics and their phenomenal product and the service that they're providing to our community. And I'm looking forward to Dr. Smith. I think what we talked about is him sharing some of the value and benefits of pitching and pitching well, and the value for his company as well as to those that would find ways to support. But just looking forward to him sharing however he would like to for a few minutes this afternoon. So take it away, Dr. Smith.
Victor, I appreciate the invitation to be part of this. This is a great panel, a great session, and clearly there's not a topic that I can think of that's all that much more important than being able to pitch and pitch well. So as Victor mentioned, my name is Dale Smith, and I have the pleasure of being the co-founder and CEO of Acclinate Genetics. And we are a trusted digital healthcare company focused on educating and engaging diverse individuals to be able to make informed decisions about taking part in genomic research and clinical trials. And so our history goes back to where we pitched at Alabama Launchpad back in February. And if you could think about how times were so different back in February than what they are today, we were pitching our company. And if you heard me in terms of our mission, this was pre-COVID, this is pre-social unrest, and there was interest in what we were doing. And since that time, we've been very, very busy with making pitches both to investors as well as a lot of our biopharmaceutical companies and other resources in terms of what we do. But going back to Alabama Launchpad, I remember when we presented, we practiced for so long for Alabama Launchpad, and to make sure that we kept on track as well too in terms of our messaging and our time. And I was the first one to present in our category, and I sat down, and after I sat down and I watched the other two presenters in my category, each one of them ran out of time before they were fully able to finish their pitch. And if you can imagine, towards the end of a pitch like this, you're really talking about your business model, your revenue, your potential customers. And these individuals, and particularly the last one that presented, didn't even get halfway through his presentation before the time was up. And so I kind of was sitting there like, I think maybe we won. Okay, not so much because of maybe we had the best business model, which I do think we do, of course, but because we were able to tell our complete story. So I just want to, again, reiterate that issue of time. Always kind of know and be ready. Listen, it's a 30-second pitch. It's a 1-minute pitch. It's a 5-minute pitch. It's a 30-minute pitch. You don't know how much time you have, but you need to be ready to make sure that you finish your story in the time that's allotted. So you have to determine what you're going to cut out, what you're going to emphasize during that particular time frame. The other thing I'll say, and I think it's been kind of said throughout this, is just today, my co-founder and I had to go get some pictures and some headshots for various things. Not a big fan of doing those things. I don't like to see my picture up. I wish Victor would have taken it down. But as we were looking at the different prints for the pictures, they had one where I'm standing there and I'm looking kind of serious, and one where my co-founder is like standing by me and she's like laughing or smiling. And I said, that's the one I want us to use. And they asked why. I said, because that really reflects how we actually operate. I'm kind of the serious guy, operational guy. My co-founder, she's fantastic. She's a people person. She's always cracking jokes. Anybody that knows Tiffany Jordan, who's my co-founder, knows that. And I said, I want people to know who we are. And so when people see a picture of us together, I mean, when we walk into the room, I want that to be reflective of kind of what they interact with us on. And I bring that up to you because I think it's so critically important that you be true to yourself when you're going through this process. I think sometimes we underestimate just how much people evaluate us and make decisions about us from when they first see us, and from our talk, from what we wear to our hand gestures. People are making judgment calls. And when you're pitching to try to get to an outcome, which is usually an ask at the end for something, do not underestimate how important you are and your presence is during that process. Now, here's what I say to you, because biases exist and people make judgments on people before they even open up their mouths, and that can be an unfortunate thing. But I think for everybody here, it's important for you to understand, what are your strengths? What do you bring to the table? And try to highlight that. If you're humorous, bring that to your pitch. If you are someone who tells great stories, bring that to your pitch. If you're someone who had a difficult upbringing and you've gone through a lot of challenges, bring that out in your pitch in some way. And so, you know, it's key that you're yourself. And at the end of the day, my firm belief is that if the person on the other end of the table doesn't want to interact or do business with you, or get to that yes that you're trying to get them to, because they just don't like who you are as an individual, then so be it. That's the way it's supposed to be. So again, I just want to emphasize, make sure you know about how much time you have so you get your complete story in. Make sure that you're yourself in that process. And the third thing I'll say to you again is the importance of stories. And if you'll notice that as I was talking with you, I relayed 2 stories with you. I relayed a story about Alabama Launchpad, and I relayed a story about taking a photo shoot this morning. People remember stories. From an anthropological standpoint, we are a culture where we have used stories for thousands of years to help us understand our culture and relate to things. And that is almost part of our DNA, no pun intended. It's part of who we are. So you telling a story as part of your pitch and being able to weave it in seamlessly to illustrate your point will go so much further than you trying to illustrate 3 or 4 specific points without a story. So I encourage you to think about the importance of storytelling in that process. So I'll leave it at that. I know we're ready to do the 30-second pitches. I want to make sure we stay on time, but I appreciate you allowing me to share some thoughts with you as well. So Victor, I'll hand it back over to you or to Elisa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. And so I guess it's time for Catherine Zobrey to share the opportunity for everyone. I don't know if we're gonna get into questions at this point, or we want to jump right into the 30-second pitches.
Sure, let's start out with some questions. So we had a great question that came through the chat. We're looking for, what are some pointers to pitch a sporting goods or activewear company? Or for that being said, are there specific tips on pitching either industries or a specific type of product or service that you guys can provide us?
I'm happy to chime in just briefly and then turn it over to others. So when you're looking at different companies like sporting wear, activewear, that type of thing, obviously building relationships with folks that are not only presenting today, but even some that I know are in the audience. It's going to be really critical to determine, what is your cost to manufacture? Are you focused on design and then you're going to turn that manufacturing over to someone else. There's opportunities to get involved in what's called contract manufacturing, which means that your first units of production are going to be somewhat expensive cost-wise, but what you're trying to do is determine and perfect that to a certain extent, then figure out what those margins are going to be eventually when you can go into mass production. And hopefully that manufacturing facility is in Birmingham, Alabama, and not in a country outside of the United States. But anyway, those are some initial thoughts, and then meeting with folks like Catherine at the SBDC and others can help you flesh out that model. Shout out to Catherine Zobre.
I couldn't agree more, Victor. From my perspective, and just to give you a feel, I work with about 1,500 companies over a 13-county area in Central West Alabama. So whatever industry it is, it's a good chance I work with them. Each industry has its own specific culture and timeline of when people are ready to listen. And so for specific buyers, you're going to be looking for a category buyer if you're selling wholesale that's got their time, you know, in February to make their purchases for summer and August to make their purchases for the winter season. Now with activewear, you might have a little bit longer of a lead time than some other fashion industries, but the time between new fashion rollouts is shrinking due to the on-demand manufacturing processes. But there are fintech, which is a good argument for having a manufacturer closer near, you know, closer by than, you know, overseas. So great question. We had another one come through the chat. How do you handle people who constantly interrupt you while you're pitching? Yolanda, I feel like I might be guilty of that, so I apologize in advance. I'll put it up to my New Jersey background. I'm a talker. So Victor, I'll let you take that one, or Del or Emily, if you want to chime in as well.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can chime in on that one. I'm sure there's other thoughts on this as well too. Before I actually do any type of pitch, I try to take into account how much time I have with my intended audience. And so a lot of times when I'm have a meeting that's been set up, I will say, you know, just how much time do you have? And so if the person tells me, hey, I've got as much time as we need, I'm actually welcoming those interruptions, because the more they ask questions, right? Pitching isn't just about you talking, it's also about you listening. And so if someone's, you know, interrupting you and you've got the time, I'd say just go for it. Don't get frustrated by it, and it may give you a chance to actually get to know the person more, understand what their concerns are, because at the end of the day, you also want to understand what their needs and concerns are. But if you get to a point in time where time is of the essence and someone just interrupts you, and you evaluate kind of where that person is in terms of their hierarchy in the room. If they're the person that's in charge, maybe you need to kind of allow them to go through what their process is. But if it's just someone who's just being a heckler, maybe you can politely ask if they can wait to hold their questions until the end. But, you know, again, you'll need to read the room. But I just want to leave you with this idea of knowing how much time you have, and then knowing that you're also there to listen to their concerns and needs as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for the great answer there. I have a question. How do you balance intellectual property considerations with a pitch?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like everybody's input.
I'll jump in on that one. Working in the technology space, I get a lot of people who ask me up front, well, how much can I tell you? Can I trust you? And while it sounds a little cliche and a little canned, but the truth is everybody should be able to explain what makes their business unique and what qualifies them to solve the problem at a 30,000-foot view. You should not have to explain any of your secret sauce for me to understand the problem that you're solving, the people who have this problem, and what qualifies you to solve that problem. And so there are always going to be instances where there are things that you want to kind of keep a little closer to the vest, because truthfully, you know, you may have done research, you may have an algorithm, you may have a special treatment or something like that, that yes, you should keep protected. You know, if you're applying for a patent for something, that's something that you want to make sure you take very good care of. But there should never be a problem for you to explain your business on a general enough level that I understand what you're trying to do without being able to recreate it myself.
Awesome. And we had a comment in the chats from Dr. Kareem Bidwani, who says, I echo Emily's point, too much detail takes away from the presentation anyway. Thank you so much. So at this point, I think we will let's take a 2-minute break so folks can jot down what their 30-second pitch is going to be. And then we will reconvene, and I will take volunteers. This is a no pressure environment. You have a fantastic audience here listening to you to help you develop your pitch. So please share with us what your pitch is. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. Wow, 2 minutes goes by fast, and I promise 30 seconds will go by even faster. Do we have any volunteers that would like to run their 30-second pitch by our group? All right, well, while you warm up your courage, I promise we're not scary people. While you warm up your courage, I'm gonna go ahead and pitch. So my name is Catherine Zobri. I'm a general business advisor with the Alabama Small Business Development Center. I cover 13 counties in Central West Alabama, helping businesses start, grow, and scale their companies. That means we help with business planning, business execution, and business exit. It's a free service, confidential. Give us a call. All right, Kim, we've got our first volunteer. Thank you so much for joining us. Kim, go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you want to share your video as well, feel free to do that. And you will have the stage.
Okay, am I unmuted? Am I good?
You're good to go.
Awesome, Catherine. Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Kritz. I am the owner of Be Saintly. Be Saintly is an online Catholic boutique, and we are focused on encouraging women and their faith. And we want to get them talking about their faith and their daily life so that they can be a light for other people.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to provide a little input. Kim, thank you for agreeing to go first of all.
Sure. I would love your input.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought the pitch was great. I love how you start off with who you are and your company and what you do. I think the only thing I'd maybe add there, and you saw Catherine do this at the end, is there's an ask, right? So you don't want it to end with just being, well, that's nice, Kim. You want to be some ask, right? I encourage you to get in touch with me if you have an interest, or if you know someone, or if this sounds of interest to you, I would love to talk with you more, and kind of add that to the end. I think that would really round out your pitch. It would be great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
The call to action.
Okay.
And I know a lady named Kim Cripps who used to tell me to do calls for action for
Yes, that's me, Victor.
Stanford University. It's amazing how when you're doing it for yourself, it's different.
I know. I can do a call for action for fundraising all day long.
Fantastic, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing. Del, thank you so much for providing feedback. We've got another volunteer. Van within Glover is going to share next. Van, feel free to unmute yourself and share your video if you'd like to. Oh, I can see you're unmuted and your video should be on my side, but I can't hear you yet. Van, are you talking?
Now I think it works.
Ah, okay. I was wondering if it was my side. Thanks so much for joining us, Van. All right, you have the floor. We can hear you.
And I think I've made it where I can't hear y'all, but maybe we're ready. Okay, good. So I'm Van Gravely, and I want to tell you about our product called Englover. Englover is a patented device that places gloves on healthcare workers. In just 3 seconds, Englover can automatically draw 2 gloves from a box, inflate them with a vacuum from the outside, and place them fully seated on the user's hands. Englover not only makes gloving fast, but also easy. If you've ever tried to put on tight-fitting exam gloves on wet or damp hands, you know the frustration that Englover solves. COVID has made us all aware of the need to avoid the spread of disease from contaminated surfaces. Englover makes that protection efficient. If you have an interest, please contact me. Now let's see if I can set it so I can hear y'all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Van. Do we have some feedback from the team?
I'll pop in with some feedback. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully the audio worked out there.
I can now, yes.
Okay, good deal. My recommendation would be to flip the order, address the problem first, which gets your audience thinking about, oh yeah, that is a problem, and then produce your solution, rather than introducing the solution first and then explaining why there's a problem to validate your solution. So just switch the order and start off with the problem and then introduce your solution.
Excellent.
Also, I would like to add, I'm not sure if you're kind of like in the medical industry at all, Van, but it would be great. You alluded to it as far as the why, but I would like to know, like, why it's personal to you. Like, what did you see where this was really a problem and you felt like you were the one to provide that solution? So kind of really making it personal so we can understand more of what the product does. But I thought you did a great job.
Okay.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Van, for participating and sharing your pitch. You did a wonderful job. And just
thank you, Catherine.
And
Good seeing you again.
I don't know if you care about these things. I did time it. It was 50 seconds. 30 seconds goes by so fast, doesn't it? It really is. I mean, it is so quick. So we're going to take Melissa, and then we're going to take one more person after that. So if you'd like to be our last person, please drop it in the chat. All right, Melissa, go ahead and unmute yourself and join us by video if you can. And we'd love to hear your pitch.
Okay, let's see. Does
All
that
right.
work?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just start. So hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Nelson, and I am the founder of an e-commerce enabled gifting platform called Gather. Gather offers curated gift boxes that include something to eat, keep, and share, as well as the ability to digitally build a 100% custom gift box from a selection of products across food, home, and lifestyle. Oh, am I unfrozen?
You're unfrozen. I'm never sure it's my side, so I always just give it a minute.
Okay.
Roll tech issues, just roll with it.
So what makes Gather different from any other gifting service is that from its inception, we have had the mission to build healthier, happier communities, not just deliver beautiful gifts. There was a statistic that was published in January of 2020, pre-COVID, that more than 60% of Americans reported feeling lonely. So in Gather, I'm not only working to build a platform that's about gifting, but we're also building a platform designed to enable shared experiences, exciting finds that you can't wait to share, and importantly, gratitude, thankfulness, and connection. I'd love for you to visit us online at shopgathergifts.com. Thanks very much.
Wonderful, thank you. So as we saw with Melissa's presentation, technology will fail you occasionally. And so having that fortitude to just keep rolling through it, Melissa, you did a fantastic job not letting the technology interruption break your train of thought. Any other comments from our special guests or panel speakers today?
Yeah, I can chime in. I just want to say, Melissa, I thought that was great. It was easy for me to understand what it is that your company does, why you do it, and how you do it. I thought you did an awesome job.
Fantastic, thank you so much. All right, we've got our last pitcher today. Jennifer is going to join us, and she's going to share her pitch with us. Jennifer, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and pitch.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm driving in the car. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Jennifer Gonsolin. I am the owner of Total Communication, and we help school districts tell their best stories. After 10 years in the news industry, I know that no comment doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. Sometimes you just need help telling your story. Let us help you tell your best story. That's it.
Fantastic, fantastic, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us today. Awesome. What's the feedback from the group today?
I love the tagline, help you tell your best story. I really like that.
The other thing I think that Jennifer did there was she demonstrated some enthusiasm and passion for what she's doing just in her voice, even though we really couldn't see her, heard her, but we still heard that passion, enthusiasm in her voice. I love how she threw in her experience working in our previous industry, which answers that question to me, like, why you and why are you the person for this? And so it didn't take much for her to throw that out there for us to understand why her. And I loved it. The only thing I think I maybe, if we had more time, I know it's just 30 seconds, but it'd be a story on maybe a school district or a situation or circumstance that happened and the person didn't respond the right way. And I think we've got plenty of examples of companies and that don't respond the right way would really help drive home how important it is to make sure you have the right message and the right response. But that's tough to do in 30 seconds. So Jennifer, I think you did a great job in your car while you're driving.
That is some serious multitasking, and you're getting very positive comments in the chat as well. So I like the concept for the business. Nice presentation, great tagline. That is some good feedback, and you really embody.
I thank you so much.
Thanks, Jennifer. You really embody the mission of your business and how you do business by the professionalism of the pitch. So I would say that is spot on branding, very consistent all the way through. So thank you so much for joining us. So with
Can I ask a question, Catherine?
I'm sorry, Jennifer, what'd you say?
May I please ask a question?
Absolutely. What's your question?
Well, but first, thank y'all so much for your feedback. I greatly appreciate it. So one of the things that I said was, no comment doesn't always mean you've done something wrong. And I'm wondering if my pitch sounds too negative. Does that make sense?
It does. It didn't come off that way to me. What do the other speakers think?
No, I thought it was very clear, and it showed why someone may need your services, because we hear that all the time. And so I think by you highlighting that, it shows your level of experience and expertise in that industry. So no, I didn't feel like it was too negative. It was clear on why we need you.
Okay, thank you all so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jennifer. Drive safely. Awesome. So at this point, we are going to wrap up the presentation. We're a little bit over our time, so I really appreciate everyone joining us for a couple extra minutes. We have many more presentations coming up. What is it? Today is Tuesday. So Thursday, I will be presenting on staffing and your competitive advantage. Whether you are a one-person show or you have an entire staff of, we are allowed to work with folks up to 499 employees, or you just use the occasional independent contractor, knowing your competitive advantage relationship with your staff and your relationships is one of your secret weapons. So in business, we've got two secret weapons aside from our regular competitive advantage. One is your cash flow, the other is your relationships with your staff. So with that, that presentation is going to be on Thursday from 10 to 11. You can sign up the same way you did for this one at the Eventbrite page. And with that, I will call it a day. So thank you everyone for being here, for showing up and showing off. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Take care.
Everybody stay safe.
Thank you.